I'll call myself Sasha. All right. I'm a born again believer. I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. I'm a friend. But most importantly, I am me. Yeah, my personality is loud.
What do you most love about yourself?
What do I love most about myself?
Yeah.
I love people, and that sometimes can be a good or a bad thing. But I'm very open to. I'm just a very open person. Yeah, that's what I love really, and I rarely get mad. By the way, if you see me mad, I'm really mad. So I don't know. I just love that part about myself. So anyway, let me just give it to you how it was. So you meet this guy, tall, dark, and handsome. Let's call him Mr. X. Tall, dark, and handsome. You know, ideally, it's our personalities were different for obvious reasons. I'm an extrovert, he's an introvert. So you think that, you know what, we are resonating well, right? You think that because my personality is loud, the guy is coming to calm my life, right? Because everyone needs a calmer around them, right? So in that process of thinking that you might have found your Mr. Right, you forget to ask the pertinent questions. Or the red flags pop up, but for some weird reason, you just don't question the red flags. Me nikikwambia, I came to know a month before the official introduction started that by the way there was a baby mama in the picture and a kid, a whole grown kid. Okay, 6 years is grown, right? A whole grown kid. And then the one time you decide to go to the guy's house, you find mama's clothes and you find used condoms. What? Butwa inakupiga. The shock. You know? So you're asking yourself at that point, but let me just, Yani, it's not even the realization that yes, there could have been, yes, there was infidelity in the relationship, but pia zile round mwenda nilifanyishwa za kutafuta huyu mse. Because he had gone missing, quote unquote missing, for about a week. But then this week, he wasn't missing. He was putting up with his baby mama. Right? Outside of town, outside Nairobi. So you ask yourself, you ask yourself, okay, wait, pause. Did I miss something? Or was I in a rush to get married that the red flags that I was seeing before really were inconsequential up until the real hurt happened? And that's a story many people can resonate with, you know. You see the guy is not picking up your calls for a day, you think that's normal. Or the guy tells you, I was busy, I was in a meeting, and doesn't call back or respond back to your messages. You feel that is normal. And to be honest, that had started popping up as one of the red flags. You know, you could call, his calls go unanswered, or he doesn't respond back for a day or two. Or you're always the one paying for dates because the guy is telling you, kuna deal nangoja ivane, do haijakam. Then you ask yourself, when you sober up, eventually you ask yourself, how were we supposed to pull through marriage life when I, as the woman, was taking a bigger chunk of the financial responsibility? Nikikwambia mpaka, I was so naive because the guy was putting up with his friend for some time because he was going through some financial crisis. Again, mistake number one. I found myself justifying too much for him. Or he's going through this because this is not working for him. Or he can't pay for this date because the little money he had, he did what? Poor naive me. I thank God a chance meeting with our best couple really just made me pause on everything and take a step back and see what I was really saving myself from. Because I was seated at this coffee shop and the best man actually made a point. He made a statement and he said, by the way, thank God you've come into this man's life because you will change him. Mistake number one. Then he also said that if you're really sure that you want to proceed with marriage with this person, I'm glad that you have accepted everything about him and his past. And so when this statement was being made, Mr. X had gone to the washrooms. And so I asked him, what do you mean by his past? And he said, yeah, the guy has a kid. You don't know about it? What? So I had dated this guy for 6 months. And 6 months, never was it mentioned that he has a child, right? And so that meant by default he has a baby mama. And for those that know me, baby mama story is a what? Is a no. So compromise number one. But that really was not like a compromise because that was a by the way information. So of course a week later I had to call this man up separately, now the best man, and just let him run through, you know, the statement that he had made at the coffee shop. And that's when he said, you know what, the man has a kid, he's this age, and what had happened between him and his ex and all that. So all this was news to me. So 6 months in, all this was news to me. I remember very well in February, right before Valentine's, I decided to take a break from the relationship. And the break really was not for anything else, but for me to pause and now dig deeper into what else could I have missed, you know, because I was so caught up in the journey of being a Mrs. X that I really neglected, for example, I neglected the fact that he has a kid by another owner, which for me really that was an unnegotiable. Me and baby mamas, we just don't. That's not a thing for me. Number two, I realized by that time I had become so engrossed in his life to a point I was enabling him or being a helper to him in all the wrong ways, you know. So instead of, in essence, me being taken care of, I'm the one who was taking care of him, right? And this was even before the infidelity came about, because the infidelity came about as I was going to confront him regarding us now really, by the way, having a serious discussion about it, the way forward, which for me the way forward was for us to break up. But the most painful thing is this: you forget to even delete that date from your calendar, and then it pops up a reminder, oh, by the way, today should have been your wedding date. Inaletanga tu uchungu ingine that you had already thought that you had healed, but in this case, yes, you had healed, but then it takes you back to that place you were, of the self-realization, the cheating, the infidelity, the questions that you should have asked but you didn't ask. Now, this whole story made me be aware of things about myself, what I could have done differently, and how this situation has shaped my future dating life, for lack of a better word. Number one, the first, sometimes I always say, really God comes in his own time, and God just reveals to you things at the appropriate time. Now, I always ask myself, had this best man made that statement, or had I met this best man a few months before, even me accepting the ring and whatnot, would things have been different? Would we have proceeded to secure the wedding date, the wedding venue, and all that stuff? So that word, it's very important for anyone who's dating. There are certain statements that will be made by people around you that you need to take into precaution. So venye msa anasemanga huyu watu walikuwa anaongea maybe ni hater. No, sometimes really it could not be from a hating perspective. These people sometimes they say statements, and it's up to you now to sit down and analyze those statements. Number two, never ever assume this man is not your brother, this lady is not your sister. So as you're accepting things, in this case a ring from a man, get to understand, is it a promise ring? is this ring here to blind you from the facts of life that are bound to happen to the both of you? You know, because the scenario that we're surrounded with is people, the illusion of marriage looks beautiful, right? And so when you take a ring, you're already envisioning yourself in that space. But then how you getting into that space? By force, by pressure, by ignoring all the things that you should have taken care of before there's that. Now, my biggest take home from my story is I definitely dropped the ball in so many ways. I absolutely dropped the ball in so many ways. Number one, I was blinded, right? Of course, by loved one, and by this idea of, you know what, maybe I'm assuming things too much. People told me, but then you can forgive infidelity. Everyone has a baby mama in Nairobi. So how is it that you want to be an exception? You know. So if you have boundaries, make sure you live by your boundaries. To my Christian girls, let's also be very inquisitive about stuff. Tusijifungie tu in a circle or a cocoon where you're too trusting or unaona tu mse for who they are, you know, ni mtu wa God. Dig deeper. Learn how to dig deep. Learn how to ask questions. And to be honest, I think in this day and age that we are living in, it's very prudent to have especially spiritual guide, someone who will walk with you. If you're not unable to ask the questions, do you have a pastor that can help you ask the questions on your behalf? Let's just not go blindly. Marriage, I still believe marriage is a beautiful institution, and my experience will not take away the beauty in the institution. But this time round, I'm going into dating more cautiously. If I'm more trusting now, I've learned to have, yes, I have my boundaries, yes, my guard will be up, but then know when to lower your guard and know when to be flexible with your boundaries. I happen to date the guy for 6 months. Right now, I can't try the 6 month thing. Maximum I'm doing maybe is 1.5. And even if in that 1.5, because I'm really now, again, I'm not in that space of like, you know, your age is this, no, you need to get married. No. Even if after that 1.5 years or even after that 1 year and sense something is wrong, pause. That's why people out here being killed. Now, there's this thing of, I was a very approaching person. Like, I'm very approachable. Now, I'm very cautious of who comes to my space. Now, both good. I'm like, you know what? If I don't feel your energy, I'm not going to force a friendship. If you don't come off right, I'm not going to force anything. That Christian part of me where we say, but then let God die. We allow God in all aspects of our lives, but then why don't we trust Him with the relationship part? I want to do it by myself. Now I'm like, God, you know what? Me, I'm okay. I'm okay being by myself. If what I went through, I'll not have to experience it again. I think that has also made me, like, now I've really learned how to give all aspects of my life to God. All of them. And the one I'm going to marry included in that mix. So now I'm just not freelancing when it comes to relationships. So yes, my story is a lesson to myself. And if you can learn or take 2 or 3 things from my story, then maybe it's of help to you.